Did you know a single tree could almost start a war? A rather perplexing proposition, isn't it? Well, let's delve deeper into this extraordinary tale. In the heart of the Korean peninsula lies a strip of land as tense and volatile as a ticking time bomb. This is the Korean Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ, a buffer zone that separates North and South Korea. It's a place where every step, every word, every action carries weight and can potentially ignite a conflict. This was the stage where our peculiar tale of tree felling unfolded, almost sparking a war. The DMZ, established in 1953, is more than just a geographical boundary. It's a physical manifestation of the ideological divide between North Korea and the United States, the de facto protector of South Korea. This 4-kilometer-wide strip of land is a tense no-man's land where the air is thick with suspicion and hostility. In this volatile backdrop, there was a seemingly insignificant poplar tree. This tree stood between two United Nations command checkpoints, obscuring the line of sight. In an area where visibility could mean the difference between life and death, this tree became a point of contention. The poplar was not just a tree. It was a symbol, a living testament to the precarious balance of power in the DMZ. It was a silent witness to the countless standoffs, the unspoken threats, and the quiet defiance that defined this tense border. Its existence was a reminder of the fragile peace that hung in the balance, a peace that could be shattered by the smallest spark of conflict. And so, in this land of heightened tensions and watchful eyes, the stage was set for an incident that would shock the world. A single tree standing tall in a no-man's land would become the focal point of an event that brought two powerful nations to the brink of war. Let's explore how this happened in our next scene. The stage was set for an incident that would shock the world. On August 18, 1976, a seemingly ordinary task took a deadly turn. It was a day like any other in the Korean Demilitarized Zone, the strip of land separating North and South Korea. The United Nations Command had decided to trim a large poplar tree obscuring the view between two of its observation posts. The operation started peacefully. A work detail of American and South Korean soldiers began the task with axes and saws, under the watchful eyes of their superiors. The morning sun filtered through the leaves, casting long shadows on the ground. The rhythmic thump of axes striking wood echoed in the still air. But the tranquility was short-lived. North Korean soldiers, led by a senior officer, arrived on the scene. They demanded the operation stop, claiming that the tree had been planted by their leader Kim Il-sung and held significant symbolic value. Despite attempts to negotiate and explain the situation, the North Korean soldiers remained steadfast. Suddenly, the disagreement took a violent turn. The North Koreans seized the axes from the work detail and attacked. Two American officers, Captain Arthur Boniface and First Lieutenant Mark Barrett, were brutally murdered. Their comrades could do nothing but watch in horror as the assailants fled back across the border, leaving a scene of chaos and confusion in their wake. News of the incident spread rapidly. The brutal murder of two American officers in broad daylight, in an area designed to prevent hostilities, sent shockwaves through the international community. The United Nations Command responded with outrage, condemning the attack and demanding justice. Meanwhile, North Korea blamed the US for initiating the conflict. In the aftermath of the attack, the world watched anxiously. Diplomats hurriedly convened meetings, military strategists assessed their options, and leaders exchanged heated words. The stakes were high. A single act of violence had brought two nations to the brink of war, and a single misstep could ignite the fuse. The world held its breath as the tension escalated. In response, the USA and South Korea launched Operation Paul Bunyan. This operation was more than just a simple tree-cutting exercise. Named after the mythical lumberjack Paul Bunyan, the operation's aim was to fell the tree entirely, but it was also a clear demonstration of military might. Operation Paul Bunyan was a massive show of force by the United States and South Korea. It was a statement, a direct response, and a warning to North Korea. They weren't just going to trim the tree, they were going to remove it entirely, and they were going to do it in full view of the North Korean guards. The operation was executed on August 21, 1976, just 3 days after the bloody axe incident. The force assembled was formidable. The United States mobilized an impressive array of troops, vehicles, and aircraft. This included over 800 men, a variety of military vehicles, and 20 helicopters. B-52 bombers, escorted by F-4 Phantom II fighters, circled high above, a grim reminder of the firepower at the US's disposal. On the ground, South Korean commandos, the fearsome ROK Special Forces, escorted the engineers tasked with cutting down the poplar tree. These commandos were armed to the teeth, carrying M16 rifles and claymore mines strapped to their chests. They were ready to respond to any aggression from the North Korean side. As the operation unfolded, the North Korean soldiers looked on, powerless to intervene. Without firing a single shot, the tree was cut down within 42 minutes. The stump, a stark reminder of the incident, was left behind. However, while the tree was removed, the tension it had caused was not so easily cut away. The North Korean response to this display of force was unpredictable, and the world held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The tree was cut down, but the consequences of this incident were far from over. In the aftermath of Operation Paul Bunyan, both sides stood on the brink of war. The world held its breath as the tension in the Korean demilitarized zone reached a fever pitch. The axe murder incident had lit a fuse, and now, the question was whether it would lead to an all-out conflict, or be snuffed out in time. In the wake of the incident, North Korea ramped up its military readiness. Soldiers trained with renewed vigor, tanks rumbled through the streets, and the North Korean Air Force soared through the skies in a formidable show of force. The message was clear: North Korea was ready to defend its sovereignty at all costs. On the other side, the USA was not backing down either. The American forces in South Korea were put on high alert. Troops were mobilized, fighter jets patrolled the skies, and naval vessels prowled the waters around the Korean peninsula. The American military machine was in full swing, ready to respond to any provocation. Yet, amidst this military posturing, diplomatic negotiations were underway to prevent an outbreak of war. The United Nations Command, representing the USA and South Korea, engaged in tense talks with North Korean representatives. It was a delicate dance, with each side trying to assert its position without pushing the other over the edge. The negotiations were fraught with challenges. Each side had its demands and grievances. But with the specter of war looming, there was a shared understanding that a peaceful resolution was the only way forward. Despite the heated rhetoric and military bravado, neither side wanted a full-scale conflict. Through a combination of diplomatic skill and sheer will, a compromise was eventually reached. North Korea expressed regret over the incident, and both sides agreed to measures to prevent such incidents in the future. The brink of war had been reached, but disaster was averted. War was averted, but the incident left a lasting impression. It served as a stark reminder of the fragile peace that exists on the Korean peninsula, a peace that is constantly tested by acts of aggression and displays of force. It was a moment in history where a single tree felling almost ignited a war, a moment that will not be forgotten. The Korean axe murder incident is a chilling reminder of the tension that existed between North Korea and the USA. The incident, steeped in Cold War tension, is a stark illustration of how precarious the balance of power was during this era. The felling of a single poplar tree in the Korean demilitarized zone, an act seemingly mundane, almost sparked a full-blown military conflict between North Korea and the USA. At the heart of the incident were two American officers, brutally slain during a routine tree-trimming operation. This tragic event led to Operation Paul Bunyan, an overwhelming show of force by the US military, involving hundreds of armed personnel, B-52 bombers, and a fleet of attack helicopters, all mobilized to cut down a single tree. The legacy of this incident is far-reaching. It was a wake-up call, a grim reminder of the volatile nature of international relations. It led to significant changes in the rules governing the Korean demilitarized zone, making it safer for the soldiers stationed there. Moreover, this event had a profound impact on the relationship between North Korea and the USA. It exposed the fragility of peace and the potential for violence that lay just beneath the surface. The incident served as a catalyst for diplomatic talks, pushing both nations to reassess their approach and seek peaceful resolutions to their conflicts. But perhaps the most significant legacy of the axe murder incident is the lesson it offers. It serves as a powerful testament to the fact that even seemingly insignificant events can have monumental implications in a world fraught with tension and conflict. This single tree and the conflict it sparked became a symbol of the delicate balance of power and peace. So next time you see a tree, remember how one such tree almost started a war,